Welcome, everybody. Proline Week 5. Last week in football, we had some great winners last week. We made a lot of money for our clients as well. This week, we got 4 big games to talk about. The first one, Oklahoma and Texas. Neutral site, Case McCoy against Landry Jones. But this is more about quarterbacks, or less about quarterbacks and more about the teams. We have a very inexperienced team with Texas, a very experienced team with Oklahoma.
I give Texas credit for being able to come back and kind of right the ship a little bit. They're not back yet, but they're playing better football. And I like the change they made, obviously, with Gilbert getting injured. They ended up having to make a change, but the bottom line was they were making the change before he did get hurt. And he's just not a leader. He doesn't have that go for the jugular, go for the kill instinct. And you can see when McCoy is on the field, Case McCoy, he just got it. I mean, the players look to him, he's a winner. But here's the thing, when McCoy and Ash are on the field, they're stationary quarterbacks so far. They haven't quite caught the nuance of being able to escape the pocket, create longer plays for the receivers to get open downfield and get separation from the secondary, or pull the ball down and run with it. And I'm telling you right now, if you're a pocket passer and you're young and your team is young around you, you're not going to beat the Oklahoma Sooners. I've kind of been riding this Texas revenge bandwagon the last couple of weeks, and we've done quite well, but it really comes to a big halt here, I think, against the Sooners. And if you watch the game last year, the final score was 28-20, but Oklahoma really was never in doubt. They were up anywhere from 11 to 18 points for most of the second half, ended up winning the game by 8 when Texas scored in the fourth quarter of the contest. But the bottom line is, I think the Sooners just too strong. And Landry Jones, true Heisman candidate, true national championship contender, going against a team that's overrated right now. Texas is a top 25 team, but more of the 18 to 25 range, not hovering around the top 10, which is where they're ranked right now.
There's no question the experience level of Oklahoma versus the youth of Texas. Texas is coming back. Yep. They're getting back. Are they still a year or two away?
Well, I don't think it's 2 years away, I think they're getting close. And Texas was real good to me last week. I used them as my game of the month. They just killed Iowa State. Steele Jantz forced him into a lot of turnovers. The problem is they're not going to force Landry Jones into those mistakes. Oklahoma is not a mistake-prone football team. They're really impressive. You can come up with your own set of ratings, and I don't care what you use, and Oklahoma is going to be in everybody's top 5 and probably higher than that. This is the one team that could go into the SEC and battle the LSUs and Alabamas on a weekly basis. Texas is catching up. They're getting better, but they're not there yet. I hope it's a real good game because I think the number's about where it should be, and I'm not going to play it. So I'm rooting for a good game just because I'm a fan of college football, and this is such an awesome rivalry. You want to see it close, but I don't know that it can be just yet. I think the Longhorns just biting off a little more than they can chew right here. Unless Oklahoma has an uncharacteristically bad football game, I think the Sooners have got to probably win this game by between 1 and 2 touchdowns.
This is a big step up for Texas. There's no question. Like I mentioned, they're a young team, but the point spread is 9 or 10. I've seen a lot of 10s out there. The total's 57.5. Unless this game totally gets away from Texas, I look for this game to go under. I'm going to be right, but I'll be right back. We're going to talk about Miami and Virginia Tech.
Hi, I'm Dave Koken, and when I tell my biggest players to fire in a game, good things happen. 2 weeks ago, it was Georgia. Last week, Texas, both totally dominant winners from start to finish. This week, it's the strongest single play I've seen all season, and I'm telling my players to go to the window with both fists. Here's your chance to get this top-of-the-chart play for only $49. And you've got to get the money, or I'll give you the entire balance of the college season free. Monster play, massive guarantee. The only way to get this game is to call me right now at 1-866-841-1665. Make the call and get the money.
It's a huge Saturday at Jim 5 Sports, and here's the reason why. I'm releasing not just 1, not just 2, but 3 outstanding high roller winners, one of which is rated my big money game of the year. Just make the toll-free call to 1-866-841-1655 and nail all 3 monster games, including the powerful game of the year, for just $10. Not only will you be rolling in dough after sweeping the board, I personally guarantee each and every game beats the spread by at least a touchdown, or the rest of October's executive service is free. It's a big money weekend. Don't miss out. Make the toll-free call to 1-866-841-1655 right now. Welcome back. We're going to talk about Miami and Virginia Tech. Now, last week, I thought Virginia Tech was going to handle Clemson, so I was really wrong about this. I was shocked, actually. But Miami's been a train wreck this year. So now they're going up against Virginia Tech team that really blew it last week. At least in their minds, they blew a home field. I mean, they never lose at home, but they did last week, and they lost badly. What do you think about this game?
Well, Jim, actually, I was right there with you last week. I had Virginia Tech against Clemson as well, so that surprised me. But one thing that didn't surprise me was how well Virginia Tech's defense continues to play. Yes, their offense was pathetic last week, but their defense has been very consistent. And for the season, Virginia Tech's defense is only giving up 12.6 points per game. Compare that to Miami this year, 20 points a game on defense. And that's the key for me in this matchup. One of the things I love to do in college football, it keeps working. Take teams with great defense if they're reasonably priced. And what do I mean by reasonably priced? Not laying, say, 8 or more points. When you get a team that gives up 13 or less points per game, at Game 5 of the season forward, of course, we don't care what they did in Game 1 if they have to, do it over the entire season. These teams, when they're not favored by that many points, are 112 and 60 against the spread if their opponent gives up more than 13 points a game. It's a real simple system. All it does is win. And, there's nothing wrong with 65%, guys. I mean, I'll take 112 and 60 all day long. But we can even improve this system further, make it, say, 45 wins against 17 losses just by one thing. Eliminate opponents who didn't win their previous game by 14 or more points. Miami, of course, did. They blew up Bethune-Cookman last week, 45-17, so it falls into our 45-17 set. I just think defense wins out here. I'm taking Virginia Tech.
I don't know if 65% is good enough for Dave, but I'll take it. But you know what? I'm going to make it a 3. We all three had Virginia Tech last week, bottom line was, and I was surprised by the final score. Make that 4 as Dave chimes in. But anyway, the bottom line for this game, you hit it. I mean, not just the angles, which I didn't have, and it's very interesting, but also the defensive side of the football. I mean, I've been talking about this since day one this season with Virginia Tech. Really felt this team, if they got past Clemson and then later down the road get past Georgia Tech, I think it's the 3rd game from the end of the season, this team had a great shot at being 12-0 because the schedule is not all that difficult. One of those teams that's in that not all that difficult section is the Miami, Florida Hurricanes, and that offense is terrible. Besides the fact that Virginia Tech is playing Bud Foster defense again, which they didn't always do last year, came into the season with that chip on their shoulder. But the bottom line is that Miami offense, what I'm getting back to, is that they're in the 80s in most key offensive categories, 62nd in points scored. And you look at Virginia Tech's defense, they're in the top 5, top 10 in most offensive categories, the key categories like points allowed per game, total yards given up. And I just think they're going to continue to do what they've done against Miami. They're 13-3 the last 16 times against the spread when they face the Miami Hurricanes. I think they're going to be 14-3, and I think they're going to win this game by about 17 points. This looks to me like a 24-7 type of game in favor of the home team here.
Listening to your analysis, both of you, this 7-point line seems to be very short. They should have made this game over 10, maybe 11. It stops them. It just looks like Virginia Tech's the right side.
I think last week's result
held them down.
is keeping the line reasonable.
Probably. That was a pretty miserable. But Clemson's pretty tough. But they made their mistakes on offense, which is how Clemson got a lot of their points. We're going to come back in a little while. We're going to talk about some NFL things that are going on. These big leads that teams are blowing, and the rushing teams, they're not winning at all this year. I mean, it's like 20%, used to be 80%. The teams that pass the ball out of the spread offense, they've been dominating. We're going to talk about that.
Hi, I'm Al McMorty, and our Vegas Strip Moves continued their assault on the sportsbooks as we pushed Saturday with NC State, but won Sunday with the Houston Texans to move the record to 7-1 this season and 38-9 the past 2 years. Absolutely incredible. Congrats to all who joined. And now it's the big one. Our Vegas Strip Move NFL Play of the Year out of a 100% perfect system that's not lost in 32 seasons. It's just $19 and you must win or the rest of the NFL season is absolutely free. Call 866-896-1628. That's 866-896-1628. We're 38-9 the past 2 years. Cash in big today. Call 866-896-1628.
4-0, 100% winners. Hi, I'm Scott Spreitzer of Smashmouth Sports. Last week, I swept my college football knockouts with Indiana and San Jose State, and I swept my college and pro tap-outs with Stanford and the Cincinnati Bengals. Today, I'm releasing my college football conference knockout game of the year for just $15, followed by my tap-out game of the year in Sunday's NFL. I'm 36-16, 69% with my tap-outs, and this one is the biggest of the season. Grab both games of the year for just $15 at 1-866 1-866-896-1627, 1-866-896-1627, then sweep the board again.
The NFL has produced a lot of winners so far this year, but the handicapping of it has totally changed. These teams are giving up huge leads in the second half. They're not running the ball effectively. And the ones that do run the ball effectively used to be like an 80% system where you control the ball control the ground game by 30 yards or more. You'd win like 80-90% of the time. This year it's like the opposite, 20% of the time. What's happening there?
Well, the first thing that I know, and I kind of expected this in a lot of ways, when the Packers won the Super Bowl last year. The NFL is the ultimate copycat league. If somebody does really well with something, every team, well, not every team, but a lot of teams will try and copy that. And the problem with doing that is those other teams don't have Aaron Rodgers at quarterback. Okay, the Packers are an aberration in that they don't have any kind of a running game. They still don't have a particularly good running game, but their receiving game and their passing game is so good because they got a great quarterback and an incredible array of receivers. They can get away with it, and also good defense. These other teams can't, and you saw just the ultimate example. And boy, this just I can't say what it irritated me on Sunday. I had a big play in Dallas. I loved the Cowboys last week against the Lions. Great spot. And they're sitting there 27-3, and they're still throwing the football. That's part of it's Romo, who's an absolute chump when it comes to making mistakes. And there's no defense for him. He's been around 6 years, and he's just an average guy. That's it. Stop talking like he's a superstar. The other thing was the coaching, though, because they've gotten so far away from this running game. They didn't have the necessary ingredients at that point. Felix Jones isn't really a power back. Personally, I would have gone to Mark Amari. Just here, you take it. But we're seeing more and more of this because of what the Packers did last year. Al, I think it's a flawed philosophy because there's like 3 guys who are as good as Aaron Rodgers in the league. So if you don't have one of those guys, you need to develop other aspects of your game, and we're seeing teams not doing that.
Yeah, 2 points. You know, it's not just running the football. You can kind of a proxy for the running game is throwing short passes out of the backfield.
Right.
I mean, so it goes in as a passing statistic, but it's really working like a running statistic because it's a short pass to running back out of the backfield. So that's 1 point. Jim, you mentioned the handicapping has changed. My handicapping really hasn't changed. I keep doing the same things. And I'm looking at, is the team covering the spread? How many points they're scoring? It doesn't matter to me if they get there through a run or a pass. My handicap is just a little bit different than, say, Scott's handicap.
Well, but my matchup handicapping is not changing. You still do the matchups.
Right.
You just change for running and passing and whatever they're going to do. So that stays the same also. But I had Dallas with you last week, and I remember watching that game. What were they up 24 points or whatever, and Romo's out there gunslinging. And you hit it on the head. I mean, he's just not that great of a quarterback. And a lot of former Cowboy players, when the Cowboys were at their peak, have commented about how Romo fell into this job, didn't earn it, and that he's not, your typical Cowboy quarterback. Good thing for Minnesota, they got a quarterback as good as Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady, because otherwise they'd be in trouble. But I'm watching them. How about a couple of weeks in a row? I mean, every week they build that lead against Detroit, 20-0, wasn't it? 20-0 late second quarter. You got AP. You've got the best running back arguably in the league, and you stop running the football in the second half with a 20-point lead because you've got Donovan. It boggles the mind. And I'm telling you what, if I'm an owner of a team like the Minnesota Vikings, I don't care what reputation Leslie Frazier has. He's in my office on Monday answering questions as to why Adrian Peterson didn't get the ball 15 to 20 times in the second half with a 20-point lead. And that's what we're seeing also. And you're right. Green Bay, New England, everybody wants to be them because they're winning games 45-30, but not everybody can be them, and that's what's changed in football. But as you said, you do angles, I do matchups. My matchups don't matter if they're running the football, if they're passing the football. There's still matchups on the field, and if I've got Green Bay going up against a bad secondary, then obviously I got a little bit of a matchup advantage.
Well, Green Bay's clearly, to me, they're still the best team in football at this moment, and they were last year as well. You look at the league. I mean, Green Bay, the Saints, the Patriots, the top 3 teams. I can't even mention who before. They're so mixed up right now. But the spread offenses, like you get a team like Seattle, they haven't been scoring any points. Last week they decided to go to a spread offense, up-tempo, no huddle. They scored a lot of points. Mm-hmm. So the game is changing. The league is changing. Yes, it's a copycat league. Also, they made some rule changes about where you can hit the wide receivers, how many times you can practice in pads during the week, et cetera, et cetera. The game is changing. And we have to change with it, or we're not going to be able to pick winners. So we'll be right back and talk about a couple winners and a couple good pro games as well. It's a huge Saturday at Jim 5 Sports, and here's the reason why. I'm releasing not just one, not just two, but three outstanding high roller winners, one of which is rated my big money game of the year. Just make the toll-free call to 1-866-841-1655 and nail all three monster games, including the powerful game of the year, for just $10. Not only will you be rolling in dough after sweeping the board, I personally guarantee each and every game beats the spread by at least a touchdown, or the rest of October's executive service is free. It's a big money weekend. Don't miss out. Make the toll-free call to 1-866-841-1655 right now.
4-0, 100% winners. Hi, I'm Scott Spreitzer of Smashmouth Sports. Last week, I swept my college football knockouts with Indiana and San Jose State, and I swept my college and pro tap-outs with Stanford and the Cincinnati Bengals. Today, I'm releasing my college football conference knockout game of the year for just $15, followed by my tap-out game of the year in Sunday's NFL. I'm 36-16, 69% with my tap-outs, and this one is the biggest of the season. Grab both games of the year for just $15 at 1-866-896-1627, 1-866-896-1627, then sweep the board again.
To me, this is a huge play. I'm not going to say very much about it because it's going to be a big play for my service. But, guys, we've got the Saints at the Panthers. What do you think?
Well, we were talking earlier about how the game is changing, and perhaps the greatest, result of that is the number of points being scored in these games. We're seeing more NFL games each week with totals in the 50s than we've ever seen before. And that's something as handicappers we do need to adjust to. That being said, I'm going to take this game under the total. It's a division game. Division games more often than not go under the total. They're more intense. These are big games for these teams, and defense usually wins out there. And if you take a look at competitively priced division games with point spreads under a touchdown, such as this one, these games have gone under the total, 278 versus 194 over the total if the point spread is 44 or higher. So I'm going to look for a lower scoring game here, notwithstanding the fact that we're seeing a lot of games going into the 50s here. And
I'm going to take a look at the side in this game, Al, and I'm impressed with the way the Carolina Panthers are battling. Look, they're not a good football team yet. They've got a lot of things aren't right with them. But I'll tell you what, they're playing with a lot of confidence, and I like the way they finished last week against Chicago. The game was over, and they still kept on working at it and ended up slipping in the back door with a touchdown just at the end of that game. And they actually could have won that football game had it not been for the fact that they got burned a couple of times by Devin Hester. Well, welcome to that club. It's a pretty big one. Not exactly an exclusive club as far as Hester killing you with his returns. Cam Newton is I got to tell you, I got him wrong. Okay, he is way ahead of schedule, and does he still make rookie errors once in a while? Yeah, sure, but he makes exciting things happen as well, and I think he's got great leadership skills on the field, and the team's buying in him. This team, to me, is going to be a very live underdog. Whenever you can get more than a field goal with them, you better take a look at them, because I don't think this team's going to get getting blown out. New Orleans, easy win last week against an awful Jacksonville team that's getting worse, by the way. So long, Jack Del Rio. He's going to be gone at the end of the year. I think the Saints probably get through this, but I think it's going to be a tough battle for them. To me, Panthers plus the points looks like the play.
I believe you're absolutely right. This Cam Newton guy, he looks like the real deal, and they don't stop playing. Absolutely very exciting football. We're going to come back. We're going to have San Diego visiting Denver. Oh, go ahead. Denver is like the walking wounded, or maybe they're not even walking anymore. Be right back.
Hi, I'm Al McMorty, and our Vegas Strip moves continued their assault on the sportsbooks as we pushed Saturday with NC State, but won Sunday with the Houston Texans to move the record to 7-1 this season and 38-9 the past 2 years. Absolutely incredible. Congrats to all who joined. And now it's the big one. Our Vegas Strip move NFL Play of the Year out of a 100% perfect system that's not lost in 32 seasons. It's just $19 and you must win or the rest of the NFL season is absolutely free. Call 866-896-1628. That's 866-896-1628. We're 38-9 the past 2 years. Cash in big today. Call 866 896-1628.
Hi, I'm Dave Koken, and when I tell my biggest players to fire in a game, good things happen. 2 weeks ago, it was Georgia. Last week, Texas. Both totally dominant winners from start to finish. This week, it's the strongest single play I've seen all season, and I'm telling my players to go to the window with both fists. Here's your chance to get this top-of-the-chart play for only $49. And you've got to get the money, or I'll give you the entire balance of the college season free. Monster play, massive guarantee. The only way to get this game is to call me right now at 1-866-841-1665. Make the call and get the money.
Okay, we're going out west. We're going to talk about San Diego visiting Denver. Denver, of course, has a long list of injured players. I don't know how they're feeling. Maybe they should put Tebow out there at some other position than quarterback.
I'd like to.
They've tried that, actually. It's a 30% chance of rain in this game. Al, what do you think?
Well, you know, I've had this game circled for weeks. I've got a huge play on this game. It's going to my personal client. So, you know, Dave, I'm going to pass on this game.
Well,
here.
I'm going to take it from you then.
Okay, you can
because
take it.
Because you know what? I do kind of like this game, too. I have a bigger play than you. No, I'm kidding. But I'll tell you what, as far as this game is concerned, but I'm looking at this game and breaking it down. Man, do you have to go any deeper than this? Kyle Orton is 4-17 in his last 21 starts straight up, covering 5 of those 21 games. Isn't it Tebow time? Denver's not going anywhere. Stick a fork in him. Jim just mentioned the injuries. But the bottom line is, it's time to get this guy some reps. Get him some playing time. See what he can do. He's not your long-term answer at quarterback over the next 2 or 3 years. But why not put him in there now? Because Orton gives you no chance at all with what he's got around him right now. As far as the other side is concerned, let's give credit where it's due. Norv Turner got out of the month of September and the first week of October without being 1-4. You got to give him credit where it's due. And this team is doing it differently than they have in the past. They're dinking and dunking and taking what defenses are giving them, and it's because they've had to. Antonio Gates, who knows if he's ever going to be back to what he was. Vincent Jackson is a little bit banged up. How about Phillip Rivers throwing 1 touchdown, Dave, in the last 2 weeks, yet this team is winning games, which is totally opposite of what they've done over Norv Turner in the first 4 or 5 games throughout the season in recent years.
Yeah, they're kind of keeping things simple, which is not a bad idea when you're in that division, because that's all they have to do to win that division. I mean, Kansas City can't play. The Raiders are improving, but they're limited. And Denver's a mess. Okay, the problem is here that the previous regime is what drafted Tebow and really kind of set the roster up to benefit Tebow, but this regime doesn't want Tebow to play.
And I've got a question for you, Dave. So let's say Denver is the worst team in football and they have the #1 pick next year. Do they draft Andrew Luck?
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah, they're not latching themselves to Tebow. I personally, I think they might just get rid of him at the end of the year. I would agree with Scott, however. Put him out there. If you really want to shut the local fans up, put him out there. And especially against a good San Diego defense, that might be the end of the Tebow conversation for a while, because I don't think he'd do well at all against this team. Orton obviously manages the game better. But at this point, to me, the Broncos are a team. It's either play against them or pass. And I'll probably pass here because despite the fact that they've gotten out of the first month okay, I still don't have a lot of faith in the San Diego team. I don't like their running game particularly. It's just too many mistakes for me. Just a variety of things. I'm not comfortable with them, let's put it that way. But if I had to play this game, I would take the Chargers. Jim, I'm not going to play the game, I can tell you that.
Well, it's a tough game to analyze, and I agree with you what you said about Tebow because let's play him. Let's see what happens. Orton's a pretty good quarterback, but he needs some type of a team around him, and there is no team here. Denver's a mess. We're going to come back. We have the best bets to talk about.
4-0, 100% winners. Hi, I'm Scott Spreitzer of Smashmouth Sports. Last week, I swept my college football knockouts with Indiana and San Jose State, and I swept my college and pro tap-outs with Stanford and the Cincinnati Bengals. Today, I'm releasing my college football conference knockout game of the year for just $15, followed by my tap-out game of the year in Sunday's NFL. I'm 36-16, 69% with my tap-outs, and this one is the biggest of the season. Grab both games of the year for just $15 at 1-866-896-1627, 1-866-896-1627, then sweep the board again.
It's a huge Saturday at Jim Fife Sports, and here's the reason why. I'm releasing not just one, not just two, but three outstanding high roller winners, one of which is rated my big money game of the year. Just make the toll-free call to 1-866-841-1655 and nail all three monster games, including the powerful game of the year. for just $10. Not only will you be rolling in dough after sweeping the board, I personally guarantee each and every game beats the spread by at least a touchdown, or the rest of October's executive service is free. It's a big money weekend. Don't miss out. Make the toll-free call to 1-866-841-1655 right now. It's that time again. Best bets. Al?
Well, best bets don't get any easier for me than Virginia Tech against Miami. It's going to be an easy win for Bud Foster's defense here against Miami of Florida. Hey, speaking of easy wins, last week we had the Houston Texans as our Vegas strip move play on Sunday. Now 7-1 on the season, 38-9 the last 2 years. These are the most sought-after plays on the planet right now. Let's keep it going this week. We're featuring our NFL Play of the Year out of a 100% perfect system that hasn't lost in 32 seasons. And get it right now. It's only $19. Call toll-free 866-896-1628. You're guaranteed to win, or the rest of the season is absolutely free. 866-896-1628. Dave?
Well, I'm also going to look, and Virginia Tech kind of hurt me last week, but I won my big game, but I did have a play in Virginia Tech. They lost to Clemson. Nevertheless, I think they handle the Miami Shapiros here. They didn't name the team after the guy? Miami's in a transition mode right now. They're not a very good football team, quite frankly. They might be like in the 70s, really. That they could be that low nationally. They got a lot of holes. So I think Virginia Tech nails them. I'm going to nail one big game again this week. These are the games that I send my personal service players to the window with both fists on. I fire away because they win a lot more than they lose. 2 weeks ago, September College Game of the Month, Georgia. Last week, October College Game of the Month, Texas. Games you can play with total confidence and win. One huge play this week. My personal service players are all being told to fire in this game. $49. So it's not for real small players. This is for guys who know what to do with real good information. $49, completely guaranteed. It's going to get the money, or you play the rest of the season completely free of charge. Only one way to get it, 1-866-841-1665. This game will not be sold online anywhere. 1-866-841-1665. Scott?
Miami Shapiros. I wonder how the name Nevin goes over in prison. You think it's kind of tough in prison? Nevin. Anyway, I tell you what, guys, my best. We're either going to sound really dumb or really smart. Yep. We all had Virginia Tech last week, and it looks like at least three of us, and we'll find out what Jim has next, are going to go with Virginia Tech for our best bet this week. Hey, you all know about my knockouts, man. It's been since day one that I've been in this business. My knockouts are my signature plays. We swept last weekend in college and pro. College football, we had San Jose State. We had Indiana as our college KO knockouts. This week, it's my conference knockout game of the year in college football. Last week, we swept our college and pro tap-outs. Stanford on Saturday, Cincinnati on Sunday. Those plays are 36-16, 69% the last 52. You're going to get my tap-out game of the year in the NFL on Sunday. Both plays, only $15. All you got to do is call 1-866-896-1627. That's 866-896-1627, Jim.
Well, I'm going to make it unanimous, even in Cleveland. I'm going to go with Virginia Tech again. I had them last week, lost with them as we all did. The same reasons back up this game, but now we're playing a team that really can't play very well. I look for Virginia Tech to really bounce back with a big effort. I have not one, not two, but three high roller games going on Saturday. That's right. These games are yours for $10 when you make the call to 1-866-841-1655. My high roller games are money games. These are games that the biggest players play, and they play it for a lot of money. They know what to do with these games. You know what to do with them as well. Make the call, 1-866-841-1655. This is my big money weekend. Three big games, $10, 1-866-841-1655. Next week, we'll come back with more winners and lots of fun.